In this problem, we have this 5 by 5 grid here, and it's broken up into all these little squares, 25 of them. And not there, there's the little squares, but there's also, in here there's 2 by 2 squares, and there's 3 by 3 squares, and there's 4 by 4 squares, and then there's the big 5 by 5 square. And the question is, how many of these squares contain the black center square? All right. Well, the probably the best way to approach this is just very systematically and look at each size square one by one. So, for example, if we look at just the 5 by 5 squares, all right, how many are there? Well, there's only one, right? So we can say there's one. All right, and then we can go through each one. There's some 4 by 4 squares. All right. There's some 3 by 3s. There's some 2 by 2s. And there's some 1 by 1 squares. Okay? So let's look at each one of those categories systematically. Now we've already done by 5 by 5, right? And it's really easy to do with 1 by 1s too. If you look at all these 1 by 1 squares, only one of them contains the black square, and that's this one, right? So we'll just put down a 1 for that one as well. So let's take a look at, let's go ahead and do 4 by 4 squares. So if you look at the 4 by 4 squares, let me pick up a highlighter here. And maybe that'll help us. Okay. So let's look at the 4 by 4 squares. We have, boy, I wish this was thinner. Let's see. Maybe I'll try something different here. Let's do a marker. All right. And, okay, so let's look at the 4 by 4 squares. And you can tell already that you're going to have one for each corner, right? Because essentially this 4 by 4 square can be moved around. So there's one 4 by 4 square, and then you could see another one. If we shift this over by 1, you can see there's another 4 by 4 square here, right? And then if we shift this down by 1, then there's another 4 by 4 square here, right? And then if we shift it down and over so that we meet at this corner, then there's another 4 by 4 square. So there's just 4 by 4 squares, one for each corner. So I'm going to say there's 4 of those. Okay? So let me erase the purple lines so that we can have a nice clean square again. And let's go on and let's look at, I'll pick up a marker again. Let's look at, maybe I'll change the color of the marker. Let's look at the 3 by 3 squares. Okay? Oh, and I don't know that I mentioned, but obviously all of the 4 by 4 squares include that black square, right? Because that's the ones we're trying to find, the squares that include the black square in the center. Okay? And you can't get away from the black square when you've got a 4 by 4 square. Okay? So let's look at 3 by 3s. I think it's the same issue there, because this black square is only 2 away from each edge. Any 3 by 3 square is going to include that black square in the middle. So we've got essentially 3 by 3s across the top, right? We just shift it over by 1 each time, right? And we'll have 3 of them. And we'll also have 3 at the bottom, right? And they're all going to include that black square. We can't get away from it. We just need to count how many 3 by 3 squares there are. So we have 3 at the bottom, but don't forget there's 3 in the middle here too. Boy, that's getting kind of messy. You can see there's 3 in the middle here too. I should be using different pens maybe. Alright, maybe I'll do that. Oops, I just use a different color, I think. Would be what I should do. So we had 3 by 3s across the top and across the bottom, but then you can't forget about the 3 by 3s across the middle too, and you're going to have 3 of those as well. So you're going to get a total of 9 3 by 3 squares, and they're all going to include the black square in the middle. Alright, so So we have 9 3x3s. Alright, and let me get rid of all of our highlighting here. And let's go on to 2x2s. Alright, now we've got a lot of 2x2s, but you can see some of them aren't going to include the middle, right? They're not going to include that black square in the middle. So let me try a different. Let's see, medium point. How about that? I'll try to see if this works better. Alright, so you can see we're going to have some like this one, which don't include the middle. You know, and you got quite a few of those. So we don't have to worry about those. I'm actually going to erase those. Let's just look at the ones that include the black square in the middle. So essentially we're going to have this one, right? And then we're going to have this one, and we're going to have this one, and we're going to have this one. Okay, so essentially we have 4 squares where the black square is a corner of each one of them. Okay, and that's all that we're going to have that include the black square, because any of the ones outside here, you know, across the top or across the bottom or down the sides, if they touch any of the sides, they're not going to include the black square, because the black square is two squares away from the sides. So we have 4, right? So let's write that down. We have 4. Okay, and we already counted the 1x1s because we, none of the 1x1s include the black square except for the black square itself. So I think we've got them all. So let's just add those up. We've got 4 plus 1, and 4 plus 1 is 10, and then we have a 9, so that's 19. And that is the answer. There's 19 squares that include the black center square.